my husband Tim Diederich today of Diederich Electronics, and we are doing an interview for the petey Twofinger channel. So hi.
Hello.
So Tim, tell me, what is the first memory you have that music really clicked for you?
Well, I've always known that I've liked music. Music has been a part of my life forever. The first time was probably sometime in the 80s. Cassettes, you know, I can't say the hipster thing, and it was vinyl. It wasn't vinyl, unfortunately. It was cassettes. And I had my own little thing on cassettes, probably like a G.I. Joe and random stuff, you know. But I had found the other box, which was my dad's stuff. And I had the house or that room to myself for a little bit, so I decided to go through it and started putting some of those tapes in the player. And one of them was AC/DC Highway to Hell. And I saw that. I knew hell was a bad word, and I was like, let's start listening to this thing, you know. And it was like, you know, hard rock guitars and things like that, things I had really never heard. Because the 80s, like on the radio, there's like an absence of guitar-driven music. It was a lot of synth and stuff like that. So there I was just listening to that, and that was the first thing I can actually remember music clicking.
How old do you think you were at that point?
Probably like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little kid, yeah.
Excellent. What was the first live music experience that you can remember?
Well, you know, you do a lot of the school field trips and stuff, and those, I don't really have any concrete memories of any of that stuff, but the first show that I can actually remember really enjoying was a band called Hum, and they were big in the 90s. They had this song called Stars. And it's too bad because that they were a one-hit wonder in the public perception, because they were such a better band than that. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and they were really heavy and they were good. And I remember going there and crowd surfing and just having a really good time. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you remember your age?
Somewhere in my teens.
Teens.
Yeah.
Excellent. I don't remember. We've been married a long time. I don't remember you ever really buying CDs.
I had a big collection from like before we met and stuff like that, but
but it's always been LPs for you.
LPs, yeah.
Yeah. So what is the last LP you remember buying?
Probably the Go Team was Thunder Lightning Strike. I love that stuff. It's on vinyl, and I actually happened upon it at the thrift store, and it was sealed. They got it for like $2.99. And I was like, what is this? So I opened it, and I'm actually, you know, into creating some music that's similar to that. I just like how they composed everything in their music. It's really catchy. It's kind of uplifting. It's kind of unusual.
Yeah, excellent. Do you ever download albums? If so?
No, I've never downloaded a whole album.
No. Okay. No.
You know, random songs here and there, but never half an album, never all the album. I listen to a lot of stuff on Pandora.
Yeah. You
know, just type in an artist, and that's my favorite thing to do right now. Instead of downloading, is just to stream music.
Yeah. Right.
You find a lot of cool new bands that way.
Constantly changing it up.
Right.
Right. The introduction of new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Pandora thing is good. Sometimes they have weird stuff in there though. They'll like throw you a curveball.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Keeping it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, you go from like something, and then they'll throw in like Neil Young, and you're like, wait a minute.
Terribly.
Neil Young must have paid someone to like be thrown in there. Yeah.
What is your least favorite genre of music?
I could go totally generic and just say like country or polka or something like that, but you know, there's elements of each kind of music that I like and elements that I don't like. You know, and there's so much blending now and like blurring of musical styles that everything's kind of going together. You know, everything's kind of blurring into like pop.
Yeah.
You know, everything's like, how can I take this genre and make it poppy?
Right.
The same things happen to country. You know, same things happen to hip hop. Same things happen to rock to an extent, modern rock. I mean, there's still like, you know, the true rockers out there, but a lot of stuff is just blurring towards, you know, how can I package this up and sell it and make a top 40 hit, you know?
Right. Do you have a least favorite genre of music?
Least favorite? Most favorite?
A most favorite.
Sure. Probably your favorite type of music, you know, gangster rap.
Oh, yeah, my absolute favorite.
Yeah, that's a joke, by the way. But not for me. I really do like gangster rap music from like the 90s, and I like ska, you know, from that era. They call it the third wave ska. Like alternative, I like rock, reggae, just you name it, you know. I just like a ton of different kinds of music.
Good. Yeah. Excellent. What was the last concert or, you know, live music event?
Last live music event? It's when we went to the House of Blues. That was it like last year or something like that?
Yeah, maybe.
We saw the Giving Tree Band and some other bands. Good stuff.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Change of pace.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is going to be a tough question for you, I know. Favorite guitar player?
Favorite guitar player? It's not that difficult. I'd probably have to say it's a toss-up between two of them. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin and John Frusciante, who's no longer with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But for Jimmy Page, I just like the way his approach to playing. Like, he just went for it, you know. He didn't ever play it safe, really, especially playing live. If he wanted to go for something and go for a solo, and, you know, whether he made a mistake or not, he just had something different every night, and he just really, I liked his approach. You know, almost, in certain instances, almost reckless when he was playing, you know?
Right.
And then for Shante, and the kind of, you know, not so much the recklessness, but just the funky aspect of his playing, you know, mixing rock with funk, which is what I like to do a lot with my own playing.
You're very good at that, yeah.
So, those two would be tops for me.
Those are really good picks. Who's impressed you the most with their guitar effects, the use thereof?
I'd probably have to say two again. I have a really tough time picking like absolute favorites, you know, because there's a lot of things a lot of people do that I like.
Right.
I'd say number one, Hendrix, because what he had at the time, you know, he had his fuzz face, he had his amp, and he used feedback, and he used the Octavia and a couple other pedals. But just the amount of diverse sounds he's able to get from those few items.
Right.
You know, imagine if he was alive today and he was still playing guitar with everything out there. Imagine what kind of sounds he would create.
Right.
So he did great with what he had. And on the same token, Tom Morello for Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
And I was reading in an article a while ago that he had like his whole rig stolen, you know, pre-fame and stuff. So he went and bought, you know, a Digitech whammy and a bunch of other things, a few other pedals, and he still uses those pedals to this day, you know, and he creates different sounds out of the stuff he has. And you'd think he's a millionaire, you know, he could just go out and buy whatever he wants.
Right.
Easily. But no, he's comfortable with his gear, and he just creates new sounds with what he has, which is admirable,
right.
I think.
And really staying true to himself.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do you play any instruments?
Yeah, guitar right now is my main instrument. I play bass here and there. In the past I played brass instruments, the trombone, the trumpet, baritone. I play drums poorly. You're a better drummer than I am. And you're actually pretty decent, so congratulations. You need to teach me something there. And that's really about it.
Okay, great. So, guitars are what you're playing now. It's what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Absolutely passionate about. Are you playing it currently in a band?
Yeah, the band is called Our Secret Formula. It's we had a group called Third Grade Scholar. It's most of the guys from that band, and right now we're doing kind of an eclectic mix of, you know, like rock, hip hop, you know, just funk, jazz, blues. It just, I don't know.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's
messed up. Like, it just depends on how we're feeling that day is what we work on.
Right. Excellent. Is this the first band that you've ever been in, or, you know, how many bands have you been in?
No, like 5 or 6 probably. We did hip hop for a while in a group years ago. We've done rock. You know, just I've been in so many different projects, you know, different styles, that it's really helped me out, you know, where I am now. I feel like I can do whatever I need to do, you know, at the time, you know, do whatever genre. I'm not pigeonholed.
Right. take different things out of
yeah,
your
yeah.
experiences.
Take what I like, what sounds good to my ear, and write a song. You know.
Yeah. Do you do any, or have you done any recording?
Yeah, for almost all those projects, I've done recording. In the first one, years ago, it was before there were a lot of computer programs, and you know, you had the little like Microsoft whatever, and you could record. It was basically like recording to a cassette.
Came standard on the computer.
Yeah, it came standard on the computer, no options, and it was just terrible. And then I bought a program, and you know, just learned how to do it, and the rest is history. You know.
Excellent, excellent. What kind of recording equipment are you currently using?
We're using a combination of Magic's Music Maker. It's a German company for the hip hop stuff, and then Cubase with Firewire recording for you know like live band stuff, and then you know individual track recording.
Excellent. Do you have any other hobbies or interests other than the DIY effects?
Well, music in general, beyond like the DIY effects, playing music, you know, listening to music, finding new music, is a big hobby. I like, you know, outdoor sports, you know, long walks on the beach. And
oh, honey. What was your very first experience with electronics? Tell us about that one.
You mean beyond like blowing stuff up accidentally? And
yeah.
plugging the wrong power supply into your pedal and ruining it. Well, it was actually a couple years ago, and I was looking up guitar pedals online and things like that, doing a Google search, and you know, like so often happens when you're searching for something online, you get sidetracked and something else will pop up.
Right.
And I don't know how it popped up, but it was a schematic or something, or a YouTube video for the Atari Punk console, which is, you've heard it before, but for those that don't know, it's like an oscillator, makes noises, has a couple knobs, sometimes a volume knob. And I saw a YouTube video and I got hooked. You know, I never knew that there was this DIY community for the guitar pedals. And you know, I always looked at Musician's Friend or Guitar Center catalogs, things like that. And so I didn't know there's this whole underground, you know, people are doing this, and there's some really awesome things coming out of that. And so anyway, getting back to the point, I bought some supplies at Radio Shack for this Atari Punk console. I had the schematic, and it was an absolute miserable failure. It was junk, didn't work. And I actually said, you know what, I'm done. Like, this is not for me.
Right.
You know. And then after a couple other failures, you know, I started getting on track with it. You know, one of the kids said, "Hey, Dad, you know, what happened with this thing?" You know, because they saw it, and I said, "You know, it didn't work." And he was like, "You should try it again." You know, so really,
There you go.
yeah, you know, it was the kids.
That's
you know?
fantastic. They're good boys.
Yeah.
So how long ago was this? This
Like-
is your very first experience with the DIY effects.
That like absolute failure thing.
It was an
Yeah, it was a
failure.
disaster. I remember burning my coke, 'cause it was so cold when I was soldering. The soldering iron was there. It was, it was like 3 years ago or something
3
like that.
years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So it hasn't been that long really in the whole scope of things. I wish I would have started earlier. Wish I would have known about it earlier, you know.
Yeah.
But oh well,
But
whatever.
Now you know.
You're never too old to learn something new,
That's right.
you know?
So do you have any formal training then?
No.
No.
No. The guys from the DIY, the stomp boxes are awesome. You know, they're really gracious with their time, and they'll teach you anything. All you have to do is ask a question, and there's none of that. You know, everyone's just, and it might be an age thing too. You know, because there's a lot of like, especially with younger like teenagers and things. You never know what their ages are online. There's
Right.
forums. You get a lot of people that are like blaming each other and just, you know, being really rude and everything. Nothing like that I've encountered yet in the stomp box community.
That's fantastic. Sounds like a really good community.
It is. Everyone's really cool, and you know, you want to go, you want to check out and see what other people are doing, and you know, check in. It's pretty cool.
Excellent. What was your first DIY experience?
It was that Atari Punk console. It was that, and yeah, it was a disaster.
Yeah. What inspired you? just seeing the videos and seeing some stuff online?
Well, that too, but once I started delving into it, the thing that inspired me to really, you know, keep going with it was to create my own effects and to, you know, to make something that I didn't really see out there, you know. I always had the idea to, like, what if, because I started out too, I was doing some circuit bending things, because when I failed at the actual building of the effect, I started circuit bending because it looked easier, you know. And then once I came around to building again, I got better at circuit bending, and then I got better at building. I was able to integrate the two, and that's where I'm really trying to develop that right now.
Excellent, excellent. Briefly explain to us the entire process that you go through to complete one of your builds.
Well, the entire process right now, like if I'm looking at the circuit bending thing, I want to make something that's not readily available. I want to make something that I can put a stamp on and say, yeah, that's mine. You know, I made that sound. So I'll go searching for a circuit. The ones I like to use a lot have like some form of echo involved, which is, you know, pretty easy to tap into and augment. But you know, even if it doesn't have echo, you know, I'll find if it has a speaker out, which most of them do, that's easy. That's your output. And then the input, sometimes there's no manual for that. You just have to find a spot on the circuit where you'll get the guitar to pass through the signal, which can be difficult. And from there, you go and you find your bends to points where, you know, a strange sound will happen.
Sure.
You know, and then you put a pot on there to adjust the level of that. And sometimes you find a pot that, you know, the level's bigger than, you know, so you'll find a spot on that pot where you won't hear any sound, but you still have the guitar. And that's sometimes good too. If it's like an oscillation, you can turn that tone all the way off.
Sure.
And then I'll find a housing on the side of the road, a thrift store. Who knows? Like, you know, I've had some crazy stuff that I've done.
Yeah.
And
crazy stuff that you've brought home.
like a keep it in the garage stuff.
Yeah,
It's like it's cleaned up.
I'm smirking at it, and you're so excited.
Yeah, I am excited about it. But then, yeah, once you find all that, then you you drill your holes in the enclosure and you box it up.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, to date, do you have anything that you can share with us as the easiest build that you've done?
The easiest one, well, after the Atari Punk console, that's like first grade, like looking back on it. So I needed something that was like pre-K or like kindergarten or something like way back there. So the first one, it's the bass fuzz or bass fuzz. You know, there's a bunch of different names for it. It's basically one transistor and like a few other components, a diode or an LED to provide the distortion part. And I even screwed that up on the breadboard. Like, it was just, my intro to electronics was like filled with hard knocks, you know. And you know, I mean, it was just like, what the hell?
It was rough, but you stuck to it.
Yeah, you've got to persevere through it. But I finally built that, and then, you know, I would suggest to anyone, like, just starting out, you know, don't try, like, the super humongous, like, build, you know, don't try a phaser or something right off the bat, because you will get frustrated and you'll be done.
Yeah.
Just start super small, like a booster or like a distortion circuit, just something low amount of components, and then go from there.
Excellent, excellent. So would you say then that your Atari Punk console was the most challenging build, or do you have something else that maybe was your
Well, at the time, yeah, you know, I just didn't know how the heck I was going to get it done.
Right.
The most challenging one was probably, it was called the Magic Box, and they called it the Magic Box because it just had like, I was able to like circuit bend magic and like put it inside this box and solder magic to the box, so. But in all reality, what it was a circuit bend, I can't even remember what the target circuit was, but I found a bend, it was cool, found another bend, it was cool, and then I kept going and going, and by the time I was done, like, it looked like pasta, you know, I had just like wires everywhere, and it was a pain in the ass, and you know, I had like the pots and it was just all messed up, and I kept breaking wires off because I wasn't that great at soldering it, you know, when I was trying to put it all back together. And the circuit board, in circuit bend stuff, the circuit board's bigger, so it's harder to, you know, mount, you know, inside the box. can't exactly mount it on the back of a pot like a normal build. The circuit board's real small. And that was a challenge, but I did learn, what I learned was, you know, less is more. You know, find a couple of great bends instead of just littering the thing. It makes it harder on the building end and harder on the end user, because then they have to figure out, well, what, you know, what's my favorite setting, and it's just a mess. Too many knobs.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Does that experience bother you?
At the time, yeah. At the time, I was really mad about it. But no, like every experience like that, you learn something from it. Now I learned less is more, you know. You learn, every build you do, you take, if you're paying attention, you take a little bit away from it.
Excellent. So you deal with your challenges by just learning as much
as
you can.
Yeah, you figure out what you did wrong, easier ways to do something. It could be as easy as like, okay, now learning how to hold the soldering iron at a different angle. It could be anything.
Right.
You know, how to transport the solder better, you know, whether you put the solder in right where the soldering iron is, or do you take the solder, put it on the tip of the soldering gun, and then transfer it over. You know, there's so many different ways you can do things.
Right.
And then sometimes, you know, you do a different method for this build or like this circumstance. There's so many little tiny tricks that you can usually only teach yourself or find out through somebody. Yeah.
Fine tune through your accomplishments and through your disasters.
And through the you need the disasters. You do need the disasters. You need to fail.
Yeah. To
learn a lot.
How about some quick do's and don'ts for beginners?
Well, the do's and don'ts, like I said before, don't try a circuit that's too big. Start super small. Buy a breadboard so you can, you know, there's nothing like trying to mess around with the circuit once everything's been soldered in. It's really difficult. But the breadboard, you know, if you can get things working on the breadboard, you can swap components. You can learn more about what components do. The don'ts, don't get frustrated. You know, if you're frustrated, you know, turn everything off, take a break. Just walk away. Even if you need to come back a different day. That's fine, because if you're the type that gets frustrated easily, you're gonna either, number one, not want to do this hobby, or number two, want to take frequent breaks.
Right.
And also join the do-it-yourself DIY stompboxes.com. You know, ask some questions. I think I joined because I had a question on a specific build, and I didn't know that, you know, I'd still be on there. I didn't know that I'd be, you know, making friendships on there. And it really is a cool thing.
That's excellent, yeah. It's a support unit.
Yeah.
And,
because I don't think anyone, you know, I don't even know what I'd have to pay, you know, to get the kind of knowledge that I have today about stomp boxes. And I got it for free.
Right.
You know, and I like sharing what I've learned too, you know, just because, you know, you feel like sometimes it's good to give back, you know, what you've learned. I've taken so much that, you know, it's fun to give back here and there too, you know.
Absolutely.
It makes me feel good about, you know, about myself, you know.
Right. Helps to complete the circle of community.
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can't live your life and just keep taking and taking, you know, you got to give back here and there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. When you first started the DIY effects, where would you go to get your parts?
Well, I went to two places really, Radio Shack, and then the side of the road was an awesome place. Yeah, you know, I really should probably pay attention more when I'm driving. I'm always looking on the side of the road. TVs and things like that. But you gotta be careful with the TVs. Disclaimer, you gotta be careful with the TVs. They could hold like electric shocks in the big capacitors, you know, long after the power. You know, the big thing is like, a lot of the common conception is like unplug it, it's all good, you know, but not the case sometimes. And then also like the tubes in the old tube TVs, like they could theoretically explode. There's built up gases in there. But yeah, Radio Shack I found was, you know, after a while it was really expensive. I had to source my parts online after that. Places like Tata, and there's a bunch of other places. Small Bear has a lot of good stuff. And there's just a ton of other places too.
Yeah.
But, and then the side of the road, hey.
What do you do with things that you find on the side of the road, and what kind of items are you looking for?
Anything that really has a lot of wire, you know, circuit boards. I bring it home, you know, I keep even the screws, like sometimes the screws like in the housings, you know, I need them for, the machine screws. I needed the one for the sink with that screw.
There you go, you never know.
Yeah, it's crazy. It went like through that crevice and disappeared magically forever.
Fell into the magic box.
Yeah, it made the magic box. I like the magic box. So anyway, the process is you take that, and what I do is I have a vise on my workbench, and then I take a heat gun and I just take pliers and apply the heat to the back of the board and pull off stuff. And I used to do that a lot. Now I sometimes are more selective and take individual components out that I need, because the smell from like doing a whole board like that in the circuit board it's terrible.
Awful.
Yeah, I bet I smell sexy when.
Baby, it seeps into your clothing.
Yeah.
And sticks there for quite a while.
Yeah.
And
it smells. It's probably like the dollar store cologne.
Yeah,
that's probably pretty awesome. Yeah, I should bottle
that's
that.
where they get their inspiration.
Yeah, I'll just call it like Builder Dude or something.
The mad scientist.
Yeah. Yeah, smell like a mad scientist too. Welcome, hey, what's going on?
That's fantastic. Do you have any favorite tools that you just cannot live without?
Yeah, my needle nose pliers.
Keeping it basic.
Yeah.
Those are great though.
Needle nose pliers for everything.
Yeah.
You know, even if the screw like rolls down in like a crevice from a needle nose, you know.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it's been said before too, but the toenail clippers. I don't even know where that one came from. The one I use all the time. It's like as a toenail part, and then like that little like half moon thing.
The filey pointer?
Yeah.
The file?
The technical name, yeah.
Technical term, filing picker point.
So the filing picker point thingy, yeah. So anyway, but that like that part is where like the magic is though, because like that half moon thing, that's where you use that part. It's like on the back of the board to clip off the leads of components that, you know, because you want to mount the board on the back of like something. You don't want all these components sticking through that may touch the metal and short out the board, you know.
Just kind of clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, clean it up a little bit too, and like those just snip you sends you on reward eye protection just sends like bits of things here and there.
Just like your nails, right?
Yeah. Only you're clipping your electronics. You gotta keep them clean, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything that you regret buying?
Yeah, that back before I had the soldering iron, remember that cold solder? What was it called? It was like
cold heat.
Cold heat.
That was awful.
It was probably like one of those like TV specials
I think it was.
or whatever, the TV store things. But
it's horrible.
Anyway, it didn't even really work. It was supposed to be like a solder that didn't heat up, and it was a disaster. That and like this little like heat sink thing I bought at Radio Shack one day, and it's because I was worried that soldering to like transistors and diodes and things, LEDs would, you know, because I read that, you know, if you apply too much heat it could ruin the component. I didn't want that happening, so what I learned after that is that, you know, if you're concise and you're quick with the soldering, you don't need it at all, really. I guess unless you have like some like really rare transistor, you know, that's, you know, you're not really gonna have a rare LED so much, but a really rare transistor, you're gonna be absolutely sure you don't destroy it. Maybe then, but since I bought it, I haven't used it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Waste of money.
Pretty much. It was only a few bucks, but still, you know.
Yeah. What do you know now that you wish you knew that you could go back and tell Tim of 3 years ago when you started?
Are we talking about do-it-yourself electronics?
Yep.
Or what are we talking about here? Well, yeah, I could fill a boat with the other thing, but yeah, don't stop. I would tell myself, don't like give up those first few times.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe I needed to. You know, but everything I've learned along the way, there's not a whole lot I would really tell myself, other than just keep going, because failures are great. They are great. They are great. You know, you can't have enough of them. And I know it sounds weird, but you learn little bits from everything. And I would just, you know, I would have breadboarded more, but I guess I'm really happy with where I am right now. So there's really not a lot negative I would say. You just learn and learn, and you're always learning.
Excellent. Do you have a favorite component or type of component?
Oh yeah, integrated circuits. In particular, like the LM386. And that's, I know Petey's a fan of that one. Hi, Petey. He needs to work more with those big time. But yeah, it's like an amp circuit, and I used to drive the front end of effects a lot with it. There's some effects that you don't really hear what's going on, but if you drive it to a point where, you know, drive it so much you can actually get audible sound out of it. And that's what I was able to do with even things like the Atari Punk console. If you drive it enough, you can get a fuzz out of it. There's a bunch of different things you can do, but integrated circuits, yeah, I love them. There's just tons of transistors inside, and I just like messing around with them.
Yeah. Excellent. Do you have a least favorite component?
Probably resistors with really wispy leads. And I bought a bunch from Tata, and they looked, everything looks a little bit different in the pictures.
Sure.
I mean, the resistor is still the right value and everything, but the leads that are on each side of the resistor, they're so flimsy that it makes it difficult when you're soldering the thing in. I mean, once it's soldered in, it's fine, but like getting it to the point, they're just like flopping around. It's not good.
Not good. Not user friendly.
No.
No. Do you have a favorite circuit?
Favorite circuit? Really, that changes with what's on my workbench right now. My favorite circuit, if this will change, I'm sure, is the World Ender trumpet fuzz. It's one of my own, and I made it, and it sounds again, it's based on an IC, big surprise.
Right.
And it sounds like the bad attempts in the 80s when they had those keyboards where they had like all like 100 presets, and one of them was like brass or like trombone or something, or trumpet. And it just sounded terrible.
Sounded nothing like
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this kind of sounds like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of synthy.
Nice.
On a setting that sounds like the world's ending. It's just like, it's just. But I wish I need to make another one, because the one I made, I sold it right away. So, which is good and bad, because now I can't go back to it. So I have to breadboard it again or make another one. But yeah, it's definitely that one.
Excellent. Excellent. Do you eat or snack on anything while you work?
No. I may have a cup of coffee, but the big thing is, like, a lot of the stuff, you're working with, like the solder, you're touching stuff, and, especially, like, the stuff from the side of the road.
From the side of the road.
From the side of the road. You don't really want to be, like, touching all that stuff and then eating something, because you'll probably get some kind of disease. No.
Well.
I'm just joking. But it's probably not the healthiest thing to do.
Probably not. And as your wife, I can tell you, in all honesty, that I appreciate your
your
ability
coming
to,
on in, hey, and
I'm good.
Having like, yeah. No. Yeah, so you wanna wash your hands.
Yeah.
When you're done with that before you start snacking on stuff.
Yeah. Excellent. Do you ever listen to music while you're working?
You would think so. You'd think I'd be rocking out to something, so I'm always listening to music.
Always, yeah.
But, no, absolutely not. Like, usually silence, or like a talk radio, or sports radio or something. Or maybe I'll turn on some, channel where, they'll say everyone's going to hell and things like that. I'll just find some kind of talk radio, because if I'm doing something complex, or if, I don't want to be listening to the music and like getting down to that.
Right.
Because it'll detract from what I'm trying to do on the workbench. And then also too, when you're testing things, I have it set up with some headphones and things like that. And I don't want the music to be bleeding through what I'm trying to test, or like if I want to play a little riff or something, I don't want to have like a conflicting riff or something going on in the background.
Right. Right.
If it's just talk radio or silence, it's all
easy
good.
to just tune it out when you need to. Excellent.
Sure.
What is your stumbling block?
I think my stumbling block is I have too much going on the workbench. It gets confusing sometimes. I only have a couple sets of alligator clips, and sometimes this project maybe I'm stumped on, and then I'll take the alligator clips and put them on this project or this circuit bent thing. And then, even with notes, it takes a while to like, get all the pots and the alligator clips back on. So I think, it's really easy to get excited about new projects and new things. And then, when it gets tough, to just, take a break, but then, which is good, but then sometimes that break turns into like this extended thing.
Right.
And And yeah, you know, it really is difficult.
So maybe a good solution for you then would be to get more alligator clips.
Yeah, that could be. But I do want to say though that it's good, like if you have like a box or a bin with like your unfinished, your things that you were too difficult or something, or even builds that you did off a schematic that don't work right, don't get rid of it, but put it in a bin and then come back, you know, a couple months later, a couple years later, and then see if you can fix it. You know, I've already done that, and then it shows you, it's cool because it shows you how much you've learned, or even new troubleshooting skills since the last time.
Have there been builds in your past that just went horribly wrong that you took apart, got rid of, didn't hold on to?
Yeah, the original Atari Punk console build, I wish I would have kept it. You know, actually salvaged the parts from that one, and then actually made a build that worked. Yeah. You know, kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes of the junk.
That's kind of,
but
that's neat though. But you wish that maybe you had kept it so you could go back and reference it.
Yeah, you know, just to go back and maybe laugh at it.
Sure.
You know, just to see, or maybe show the kids, you know, if and when they get started, you know.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, you know, look at what Dad did, you know.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite modification or modifications from a store-bought model or DIY?
No, I kind of like to do my own thing, really. You know, I've never modded something from the store or store-bought effect, and I don't have, a lot of guys, what they'll have is they'll have like a few different circuits, and then they'll have like this circuit add-on they love to do, and no, not yet, I don't really have that, to be honest with you.
Sure. You have, and have over the years, owned a lot of guitars. A lot.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot. Do you have a favorite?
I do have a favorite, that green one. Let's see. Yeah, this one right here.
Yes. Let's hear.
Well, what the story is I found this neck. I think it's a Fender neck for sure, because you can almost see, like right here, you can almost see Fender.
Oh, yeah.
It was refinished, obviously, with the black inlays. But I found this neck, and I knew I wanted a seafoam green body and a pearloid pickguard. So I basically found the different pieces, and then distressed it a bunch because I wanted that like relic look. And I actually had to drill new holes for the fret or the neck. So yeah, plays great, and this is what I'm really proud of.
It's a nice looking guitar.
Yeah, I've actually had a bunch of compliments on it, you know, playing live and things. So yeah, it's definitely one of a kind, which
it is.
Go figure, me doing something that's one of a kind. Kind of out there a little bit,
yeah.
But hey.
Okay, so that's the guitar spectrum. How about amplifier? Do you have a favorite amp?
Amplifiers, I'm really fond of Fender stuff. You know, I want to get an M80 custom head again. Remember that one I had? It was like that gray carpet. But there was an issue. Again, I probably could have fixed it. This was before the DIY, but
if you knew then,
it was probably something simple, because you'd be playing for like half hour and then it would just cut. There was like some kind of like thermal heat protection, you know, built into it, and it was something inside there was getting too hot and it was cutting. So I ended up selling it. I really liked the sound. It had a great chorus to it too. I like old Silvertone stuff. Jack White of the White Stripes, he started buying these old Silvertone amps. It was like a Sears brand. And once he started buying them, guess what happened to the price? Through the roof. Yeah, like some of these old tube amps. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, fantastic.
But I like a cleanish amp that you know, I can put a lot of effects through. And Fender Clean, I found, is one of my favorites. Unless you're getting into like, you know, like these huge money amps. You know, I really like the Fender Clean as far as something that's like accessible to like.
Sure.
To anyone on a budget, you know.
Sure. Excellent. Now let's talk about store-bought effects.
Okay.
Do you have any in particular that are your favorites?
Well, yeah, the one I use most is my Digitech RP1000. It's like, well, you know what it is. It's like an effects processor. It has 100 presets, 100 user presets that you can make, and it has a pedal board option, so you can, you know, take off distortion, add chorus on the fly, things like that. But I use a ton of pedals, but you know, for playing live, I'll just bring that. because it's so easy to just transport, you know, and it's really rugged. It's lasted 3 years of, you know, playing shows, any kind of abuse that it's been put through. But I will always bring a single distortion pedal as a backup in case something happens to that. Then I'll have the ability to go from at least clean to distortion, you know. But I don't like bringing a ton of gear, you know, just for, you know, you hear all these horror stories about theft and just things happening, a pitcher of beer spilled over all the effects or something weird, you know.
Right, right. So, do you have a favorite DIY effect?
It would probably be that World Ender trumpet fuzz that I'm working on.
It's really neat.
Yeah, because I have made, you know, effects that are floating around in the community here and there in the past, but I don't know, there's just something like making your own effect that I just love to do, you know. Even though it's really time consuming, there's something about it.
Incredibly satisfying though, when you have a thought, an idea, and being able to bring that to life with your own creativity. You're an extremely creative guy.
Oh, thanks.
And just being able to do that, I can imagine the satisfaction.
And a lot of time too, like you'll set out, you know, like have like a certain goal or maybe even a loose goal in mind. But a lot of times, like I'll come out with something that sounds way different, maybe possibly even better. There's one time I circuit bent something, and a good goal is to, no matter what you're doing, is to take notes, no matter what you're doing. You know, with DIY effects, like use different color wires. Okay. You know, but for some reason I had a few different pots on this thing, and when I went to solder it in, I didn't take notes on to which pot went with which wires. You know, so I ended up with a product that actually I was happier with.
I remember this.
Yeah,
I
was going crazy.
Yeah, and it was amazing.
I was going crazy, and so maybe I don't know if I should suggest labeling stuff. Do whatever the heck you want as long as it sounds good.
Yeah, there you go. Fantastic. Yeah. Let's talk about complex signal chains.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I'm always changing my pedal board around, and sometimes during band practice, I bet the guys love that one. But yeah, I usually run either like a wah or an auto wah first, sometimes a fuzz before, not usually though, and then distortions, fuzzes. I always have a phaser. The phaser is my favorite modulation effect by far. I always have an echo. Right now I'm running a Dan echo. It's like a Fab echo, and then from there it's kind of up for grabs. I've been messing around with this Musa. I think it's the FD800. It has a lot of different modulation effects. I've been trying to get like an organ sound out of it, which I have on a video of that on my YouTube. It's Diederich Electronics, or type in Tim Diederich. And it's a great spot for like a shameless plug. You know, you can always find my Facebook and my eBay connected to that. So, like, subscribe or do whatever, spend some time on there. I'll be really thankful. Yeah. That's terrible.
There you go. So, we're talking about all of these things that you have on your pedal board that you don't take with you to shows, but you do keep here.
Yeah, for like recording. I mean, every once in a while I'll take a couple of them to a show.
Sure.
But it's just, you know,
not the lot of them.
Well, yeah, it's just, number one, it's hard to transport. Number two, like, the thought of theft and things like that. It's not that we're in like a bad area or anything, but you know, you just hear horror stories all the time, you know, about things that happen. So if my stuff gets, you know, if I get robbed or something, I want to at least have some stuff that doesn't, you know.
Absolutely. So when you're here at the studio practicing, tell me about your day-to-day pedal board just here. How many pedals do you usually use?
Well, it starts out, I'm always using the Digitech, the RP1000 usually. That's part of it. And it can go between 5 and maybe, I've even had like 25 or 30 pedals on there at times, and it always changes.
Yeah.
It always changes depending on what I want to do. I try these days to try not to put so many pedals on there just because of, it's so hard to troubleshoot like hisses and things, and unwanted hisses, by the way. A lot of my stuff makes like white noise and things, but and it's good, and I love that, so I can actually turn it off and turn it on when I want to. But if your stuff is hissing for a whole like set or your whole gig, you're probably not going to be so happy with it.
Right, unwarranted sounds.
But yeah, just keep it simple, keep the effects you want. It's easy to go overboard with, okay, I'm going to put this and this and this. But yeah, just find what you like and just keep it simple.
The less is more mentality.
Yeah, I found that out. You know, it's easy to get into the access with it. It really is super easy. But yeah, keep it small, keep it simple, keep what you like, figure out your sound. That's another thing I would suggest people, find your sound, find your own sound. Don't try to copy, like, you know, this guitarist rig or that. Just, you know, just make your own thing.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Do you have a favorite manufacturer of guitar effects?
I would say, you know, Diederich for the bigger stuff, you know, like the all-in-ones. For the majors, I'd probably say Electro Harmonics. I like what they've done in the decades. They've always been the major that I've thought that has come out with like the wackiest stuff. You know, whether it be, you know, just they've come out with so many innovative things. And I use the freeze pedal right now, where you can freeze a tone or even freeze a chord and like play a lead over that, or even freeze like a bend, or even freeze a weird spot. I made that radio pedal, the circuit bent radio pedal. I froze in part of like a spoken word, and it's just crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But as far as like the middle guys, you know, people that aren't really like backyard boutiquers but aren't really major yet, I'd probably say Earthquaker Devices. They have that organizer pedal. It sounds like an organ. I think it's called like the Rainbow Machine or something. It's like Rainbow Bright on an acid trip. It's really weird. And then just some like, I think it's called like the Commander Bit Fuzz or something. I may be screwing up these names, but just really cool stuff. But a lot of it is like DSP. It's like digital. Like you have to write the code for it, you know, which is like way beyond probably what I'll ever be doing. But yeah, they've been coming out with some cool stuff.
That's excellent. Yeah, fantastic. Do you have a person in the community to whom you look up to or admire? Basically
anybody that is, you know, willing to go the extra mile and help somebody out.
Yeah.
People that work with ICs in particular. There's a few guys, you know, Slacker on the forums, one of them. He's done some crazy things with ICs. One of the big ones is Tim Escobedo. And I don't know if he's still active. I heard rumors that he wasn't. But he has these, he has like a whole slew of these circuits and circuit snippets that have been floating around for years. And you know, and he's really good. And I would encourage anyone to, you know, a lot of people look up to Tim Escobedo, and I'm one of them. But I would encourage people too to be their own Tim Escobedo. You know, there's no reason why someone can't sit there and blaze their own trail and do some of this stuff, you know, themselves and have a good time with it. Petey Twofinger, it's a props to you, Petey. Doing this interview thing has been awesome, you know. I know so many of these people from their name and or fake name, you know, their handle and their like little avatar picture, and it's been awesome to see some of these people hear their voices, hear what they have to say, and hopefully Petey gets a ton more on board.
Right.
Beavis, not the Beavis and Butthead guy, but Beavis Audio, he has really easy to read, you know, color, big, even breadboard, you know, illustrations and stuff that's easy to do.
It's fantastic.
But yeah, there's so many people that I could talk forever about it, but we'd run out of time fast.
Yeah, that's excellent though. It sounds like a really good community.
It is. It is.
Fantastic. If there was one thing about the community that you would change, what do you think that would be?
Well, like I've said, the community's great. Like a lot of aspects are just perfect, and there's not any glaring thing I would change. The one thing is just kind of like I mentioned before. I would just encourage people to not look at things like, okay, this is like a cookie cutter circuit where they have to follow this verbatim, and then, you know, just try and blaze your own trail with the circuit. Just try and mess around on a breadboard. It's super satisfying to make your own circuit. It's not for everybody, and there's a lot of time involved. But man, there's nothing like it for me personally.
Right. Make some mistakes. Make some more mistakes.
Yeah.
Just continue to do. Right, that's excellent.
Eventually you should find something that sounds good.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay. If not, try again. Try again.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Mojo?
Oh, it's beyond It's just an advertising term, you know. Mojo this has a Mojo transistor that, you know, it's just a way that they can, it's advertised, a way they can get more bucks out of a product. And a Mojo capacitor, it's not, is it really going to sound that much better than a modern equivalent, you know? Certain, you know, transistors maybe, but it's just an overblown word. That's all it is.
Fair enough. If there were a genie in the bottle, and he gave out guitar effects, what would he bring to you?
He'd bring me probably a ton of every vintage phaser that has ever existed. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah. What is the project that you're most proud of?
Probably just taking circuit bent ideas and then porting them into guitar pedals, because I didn't find much of anything. You know, you can find anything online. I couldn't find anything online about this stuff. I had to kind of, you know, invent it and, you know, do it. And now I'm able to, you know, do, you know, put radios inside of pedals and just do whatever. And it's been awesome to just try and figure out the process with it. And I'm most proud of that.
Yeah, that's a great
Just
answer.
taking a risk on things and, you know, having it turn out well.
Do you have any ambitious projects that you're currently working on that you're willing to talk about?
A lot of stuff that I'm currently working on is either new circuits, which are like almost finished, or you know, existing little mods to circuits. I've been talking to petey twofingers, always saying, you know, put those optical eyes on stuff, and which I may start doing, and just, you know, just tinkering around with what I have, and you know, I'm always making new stuff.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
And the optical eye, now that is really a neat idea. But you've worked with that in the past.
Yeah, I did a radio pedal, I think, with one.
Right. And that was neat.
Yeah, but the thing is that I want to do is, with any of these like little modifications, I want to have the ability to, you know, a lot of people, what they do is they put like a little switch on there, but you can't access it with your foot, you know, you got to bend down. I want to put like a stomp switch on there, so like when you press down on the switch, you get an effect or you lose an effect for however long you're on that switch. Because I think in terms of playing live a lot, you know, I have that perspective, because some guys, they don't really play, they make effects, you know.
Right.
But I think that's important to think about the player and, you know, who's going to be using the effect to make it easier on them, because the joke, you know, with guitarists is guitarists don't bend over for anything. Like, that's the joke, you know, so... and there's different layers to that, but you know, there's yeah, you know, everything needs to be operated by the foot.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely. That's excellent. Well, I do have one final question for you. What do you see for the future of this industry, as far as you know, guitar effects processing?
Well, the future, I look at the future in terms of the past, really, and I'll elaborate on that in a minute. But the common answer is, you know, you're going to get. Everything's going to be made on a computer, little sliders. You're going to be able to just basically invent your own effect, like instantly, you know, or like tinker around with it, you know, and then, you know, download it probably via USB to like a little generic box, and that box will, you know, or you'll have a bunch of these little boxes, and then you can label them. They'll have LED displays and all this. But I see it kind of like clothes and music and stuff too. Like, you know, in the 90s you had the 70s coming back a little bit, and right now it seems like the 80s clothes are coming back. Even the 80s music is starting to kind of creep back in. So, and with all that, you know, these all-in-one boxes have been around for decades, but now I'm starting to see a lot of pedal boards with pedals on them, you know, and you think, well, why is that if technology is saying this? And I think a lot of it is, you know, sometimes people don't want those pristine analog or digital delays. They want the analog that's a little bit of graininess to it.
Right.
And then I think a lot of it is too, some people like the computer stuff and the programming and like even sitting down and programming the big floor units, they don't want it. They want the instant gratification of plugging in a line of pedals. They have a couple knobs, and then they want to just tailor their sound right then and there. They don't want to sit down at a computer.
Right.
And you know, I see that the individual pedals, you know, are really hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you see these prices for vintage fuzzes on eBay, and there's a lot of hype still around actually old school guitar pedals.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, for your time today, and thank you everybody so much for watching.